spanning tree protocol, also called STP. Now this one is for avoiding loops. This protocol is available on Cisco switches and it is by default configured, and it is for avoiding layer 2 loops. Layer 2 loops can be a very difficult thing for our network. If it is created the loop, it can become a broadcast storm, and it can do what? It can hang everything. It can block everything in our network. Our network bandwidth will be consumed and it will become very slow. Now how it happens and how this broadcast storm comes and why our switch can do this layer 2 looping and become the broadcast storm. Now for that we have to understand how the switch works and how it can create broadcast loop. So let me explain it, what happened to this and why it creates the broadcast storm, and also it can create the loop which is called switching loop. And when you have a switching loop, then you can have a broadcast storm also, and it can go on and on and on, and it can consume the whole bandwidth of our switch. So how it happens? Now for example, we have one switch and our network is not that big, so one switch is enough for me. So I am using the switch. Now suppose my network is increasing, and one switch is not enough for me, so I have added one more switch because my machines are increasing. So I added one more switch here. It's okay. Now I want these machines of this switch, all the machines of this switch can communicate to all the machines of the other switch. So I do connect these two switches together. Now as my network is increasing, I am adding more switches here and then connecting those switches together. Then I am also adding more switches because my network is getting increased. I have one more switch again, my network is increasing, and I connected this one also. My network is more increasing, so I connect one more switch here. Now I can go on and connect multiple switches like this, but this is what a linear topology. This linear topology can have a problem. It can have a problem if suppose this link disconnects. Because of some reason this link is not working. Then what happens? My whole network will divide into two parts. If suppose we have multiple breakdowns, if suppose this link is also broke here, this link is also broke here, then what? We have multiple breakdowns, and our single topology is divided into multiple different topologies. It will divide, and we don't want to do this. We don't want this to happen. So it is not recommended. If you are having a big network, then it is not recommended to have a design like this. Now Cisco recommends that you may have design in a layer structure. So if you are having a big network, then you should have a layer structure for it. Layer structures like, for example, Cisco recommend to use this layer type structure for our network design of our switches. So these layer designs, now in these layer designs we have the first layer which is called core layer. It is called the core layer. Then we have the second layer, which we can say it is a distribution layer. Distribution layer. Now distribution layer. Then the third layer we have, it is called access layer. Now what we have these layers, what we have in these layers. So first we have to connect these layers together, like I have to connect this to this and also this to this and this to this, and also this will be connected to all the core layer, will be connected to all the layers of the switch, all the distribution layer switches. Now what we have in distribution layer, we have all the important servers devices here, like all the servers what we have, like all the servers there, mail server, web server, database server, we have those servers connected into this distribution layer. And on access layer we have all the normal devices or client or end devices connected. So all the end devices will be connected to this access layer. Then after this we have the core layer. Core layer, you can see it is connected to all the other switches, distribution layer or access layer, and from here our network will connect to the router. It will connect to router and then it can go outside our network. So access layer switches can have a minimum configuration. We can have a normal access layer switches because it is having an end devices, and on distribution layer, because our servers are connected there, so we should have a higher end switches there. Then on core layer we can have a heavy duty switches there, so that it can handle the whole traffic of this big network. Remember, this is because we are having a very big network. We can also have two core layer switches for redundancy, and we can connect those switches together by using multiple links so that they can exchange their network, and this can be a redundant. So if one core switch goes down, then still our network will be connected through the other core layer, core switch. Distribution layer also have multiple switches, so that one switch cannot be depending. We don't have to depend on one switch. Now as you see here, I am using the redundant links here. That means it is not a linear topology where we have only one link, and if that link disconnects, our network goes down, our network breaks. Here we have multiple redundant links. Even we can join these switches directly here, more redundant links, so that any link goes down, still they can reach to the other network or other machine by using the other redundant link. Now when you are having this kind of network, and also in these core switches, normally we use layer 3 switches for it. Layer 3 switches, why we use layer 3 switches here? Because of VLAN routing. If we do the VLAN routing, remember, if we have big network, then we can have a big multiple VLANs, and in those VLANs we have multiple machines there connected there, and they want to do communication to each other. They don't want to go outside of the network, they just want to do communication with each other, and for that we have to configure the VLAN routing, and that VLAN routing we can configure on router. Now remember, if the network is very big, so router is already handling the routing process, because router's job is to do routing, and it is already doing the routing for the big network here. And also we want to put the load of VLAN routing also on the same router, so it can be difficult for the router to handle. That means router is already handling the routing, and also we want to say the router that to handle the VLAN routing also. So in that case we can use the layer 3 switches here in the core layer, so that VLAN routing part can be handled by this layer 3 switch, and it will not put a load on that router. Now in this kind of design, what we have here is the redundant links. Now when we have a redundant link, then there is a possibility of having a broadcast strom or switching loop. Now how it happens? I will explain it in a small in these two switches network. Like these two switches we have and they are connected together. This one link, until there is one link only, there is no problem. But as soon as we have redundant link, now we have a problem. Now if we have a redundant link like this, then we can have a problem here. Now what is the problem? The problem is the broadcast. Remember, switches don't know, layer 2 switches don't understand IP address. They only know MAC addresses. And if there is a broadcast, then the switch will do the broadcast. And broadcast by default will reach to all the machines and all the ports in our network, in our switch. Because by default it is a single broadcast domain. So if we have a redundant link and we get the broadcast. Now there is a condition to have a broadcast. First condition, when the switch does not know the destination MAC address. If suppose the MAC address table is empty and if someone sends some data to the machine which is not updated into the CAM table, then what it will do the broadcast. This is what the first reason. The second reason is if somebody sends the broadcast packet, then it will do broadcast because it is a single broadcast domain. And if someone sends the multicast packet, again multicast IP packet, so IP does not understand by the machine but by the switch, so it will do the broadcast again. Now suppose this single machine is doing the broadcast. Now what? It will send the data to switch and switch will say, okay, this is the broadcast packet, because the machine itself sent the IP, the MAC address, attach the MAC address of broadcast. Now it comes to the switch. Now switch says, okay, this is broadcast, so it will be broadcast. So it will broadcast to all the ports except the port which it gets the packet. So it will leave this packet, it will leave the port, this port, and it will send data to all the other ports. So that means on this port also, on this port also, and also on this port. Now data is broadcasted from this switch. Now it comes from this port to this switch. Now from this port data comes to this switch. Now the switch will see, this switch will say that, see that okay, the broadcast is coming from this port, so it will send all the ports except this port. So where it will send? It will send to this port, it will send to this port, because the broadcast is for everyone. And now because of the redundant link we have, it will also send to this side on this port. Now remember, the data is coming from this port also, so it will come from here also and it will reach to this switch from this side. Now again the router, the PC, the switch will say, okay, again we have a broadcast from this side, and now what it will do? It will again broadcast the data. So where it will broadcast? It will broadcast on all the ports except this port. So it will broadcast here, it will broadcast here, and now this time it will broadcast here also. Now the data is going from this side and this side also, and then it will reach to the other switch again from this side. Now the switch says, okay, the broadcast is coming from here, so it will leave this port and send it to everyone. Now everyone means this time it will go for this machine also, the machine which is originally sended the broadcast, and again it will send here and again it will send here. and also the data is coming from this side also, so it will reach this side also. Now again it will do broadcast here, here and here, and again then it will go to this switch, then it will do broadcast, then it goes to this switch, then it will do broadcast, and broadcast, 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 and this will be under loop. And our packet, our data, single data can loop within a second, 1000 times within a second, and then it will consume the whole bandwidth and it will jam your signal. Now it won't happen because of STP. So for avoiding this kind of scenario, we have STP available, and STP is working. And what STP do? STP automatically disable the port. It will disable the redundant port. That means it will disable whatever the redundant port we have. It will disable that port, like putting a tree on road to block the road. That is why it is called spanning tree, and it blocks that port automatically. Now we have only one link available, and when this only one link is there, that means there is no loop. Now when it will when this link goes down, the only link we have, and if this link goes down, then automatically it will open that redundant link. So it will block the link, redundant link, until the main link, the other link goes down. And when the other link goes down, then it will do what? It will enable that redundant link. And that is what spanning tree do in a simple way. And it happens only in a big network where we have multiple redundant links. So we have spanning tree protocol available on switch to avoid that loop, to avoid that broadcast storm. So spanning tree protocol, STP, is a loop prevention protocol used in a switching environment, and it is a technology that allows switches to communicate with each other to discover physical loops in the network. So how it discovers the loop, how it sees that there is a redundant link and possibility of creating the loop. So they do by communicating to each other. So all the switches on the network will do communicate to each other to check any physical loops are there or not. And looping means what? When a packet is sent by a switch from one outbound port and is received by the same switch, and then it is basically like you send a packet from one port of the switch and the same packet you received from the other port of the switch. That means there is a loop here. So then the topology is said to be in loop, and when a switch receives a frame and it does not find any entry for the destination address in MAC table, it broadcasts the packet to all ports. That is the default behavior of switch. So when other switches receive the same packet and they too do not find any entry in MAC table, they also broadcast the packet to all available ports. Thus every switch in the topology uses broadcast unless and until the destination is found, and thus can create a loop. So in order to resolve this scenario, a protocol called STP was developed by DIX. Now DIX means Digital Intel and Xerox. This is what the combination of these organizations is called DIX, and they have developed this STP protocol as a switching loop prevention protocol. Then IEEE created their own version of STP called as 802.1d. This is the standard for the IEEE standard for spanning tree protocol. The goal behind developing STP is to create a loop-free network by block redundant link. Very simple. To block the redundant link, by blocking the redundant link to avoid the loop. Now spanning tree terms. When we talk about spanning tree, so there are some terms there which you should have to remember this. Before getting into the detail of this, how it works, you should understand some basic ideas. Now first thing is BPDU. BPDU means Bridge Protocol Data Unit. Now bridge means still switch is considered as a bridge. So the switch we called, still we consider the switch as a bridge. So that is why the data, this term called BPDU, that means Bridge Protocol Data Unit. It is a multicast frame that is used to share information about switch and its interface connection, and switch use BPDUs to learn the network topology, other switch connection and any existing loops. BPDUs frames are sent out as multicast in every 2 seconds. This is the data information packet which is sent by a router to a router and from a router, and every 2 seconds it is a multicast multicast packet. So it reaches all the switches in your network, and it will do what? It will have an information about the topology, interface and connection. And this is the main packet which is responsible for knowing the topology for all the switches and to avoid the loop and help STP to work properly. Then we have the other thing is called root bridge. Now this root bridge is what? All decisions in STP are made from the perspective of root bridge. That means they make one bridge as a root bridge, and then they make all the decisions based on that root bridge. So when you have a topology connected all the switches, then all those switches do what? They exchange their BPDUs, and then they create one root bridge, and all the decision of this they decide based on the perspective of that root bridge. So BPDUs contains switch ID, and switch ID is made from the priority of the switch and MAC address of the switch itself, and default priority is set to 32,768. So switch with lowest MAC address will be selected as the root switch if you don't change the default priority value, and if you want one switch to be a root bridge, then you can change its priority value to less than this to 32,768. And if other switches in a network do not receive BPDUs from root bridge within 20 seconds, they assume that root bridge has failed and will begin a new election process to choose a new root bridge. So what happened when you have a topology here? So first they do what? For example, we have these 3 switches connected. So when we connect those 3 switches, or even we connect any port on the switch, so what the switch do? They start sending the BPDU packets to each other. It will send on this port also and on this port also. And this is the multicast packet which contain all the information about the switch. Now this switch will also send its own information to the other switch also. So though all those switches do what? Start sending the BPDU packets to each other to inform about each other, to inform about itself to other switches. Now suppose the port is connected to normal machine. Suppose here I have connected one port to normal machine. Now switch will again send the BPDU packet to this port also. It will send it to this side also. But because it is not a switch, so it will not respond anything. It will drop the packet. But if the packet goes from this port and received by the switch, then switch understands the BPDU packet and it will reply that I got the packet, and it replies with its own BPDU packet. So when we connect ports to the switch, then first they exchange the BPDUs. Now what happened next? After that they select the root bridge, and for selecting the root bridge they use the bridge priority. They use the bridge priority to select the root bridge. Now root bridge, after selecting the root bridge, all the communication decisions will be decided by the root bridge perspective. So how to reach the root bridge? They will decide how to reach the root bridge, and based on that they will do what? They will create the topology decisions. So basically they decide which will be the root bridge. Now for selecting the root bridge, they select what? The bridge priority. Now what is the bridge priority? So bridge priority is basically the combination of the bridge ID, that is also we can say switch ID, and VLAN number. Switch ID and VLAN number. Now bridge switch ID is fixed number. It is a fixed number. It is a fixed number of 32,768. It is a fixed number. It is called bridge priority, and combination of bridge priority and the VLAN ID, or we can say in our Cisco switches VLAN ID. It becomes the switch ID, or we can say bridge ID. So combination of this becomes the bridge ID. Suppose we have only one VLAN, so VLAN ID is 1 and this is 32,768. So the bridge ID will be 32,769 in our Cisco switches. So this will be the bridge ID, or we can say the switch ID, and this information is also included into the BPDU. So when they exchange BPDUs to each other, they exchange the information about their bridge ID, and bridge ID is the combination of the bridge priority plus the VLAN ID. Now if suppose we have only one VLAN on all the switches, like these three switches we have, and all these three switches are having the same VLAN, only one VLAN, and also this bridge priority is a fixed value. This is the fixed value, and VLAN ID is also, we have only one. Then what happened? All these three switches have the same bridge ID, same switch ID. So who will become the root bridge? So if you have a tie on this bridge ID, switch ID, then the bridge ID, the root bridge, will be decided by the MAC address. It will be decided based on the MAC address. MAC address, for example, is this switch 1 has a MAC address of AA. This one is having a MAC address of DB. This one is having a MAC address of C. Now first it will try to check, it will try to compare the bridge ID, and if any switch has less bridge ID, that suppose this one is having 32,769, this one switch 3 is having 32,769, but switch 2 has 32, suppose it is having 4,694, then what? This one is having a less bridge ID. So whichever switch has a less bridge ID, it will become the bridge, root bridge. But by default, all the bridge IDs are having the same number, because all the bridge ID have a same priority number, because it is a fixed value with the VLAN ID. So all these switches will have a same bridge ID. So if they have same bridge ID, then the root bridge will be decided by the MAC address. So which MAC address is less, that MAC address machine, that MAC address switch will become the root. So if we have A, B and C, so we can say the A is less than C and B, because this is first. If I go by the number of this hexadecimal, so A means what? It is 10, and B means 11, and C means 12. So A is less than C and B. So this switch 1 will win, and this will become what? Root bridge. And that is called root bridge. So after the root bridge, all the other switches becomes non-root bridge. And again, if other switches in network do not receive the BPDUs from the root bridge within 20 seconds, that means they assume that the root bridge is failed and will begin a new election process to choose a new root bridge. So root bridge is selected based on the bridge ID, switch ID, which is the priority number of 32768. Now if you want to make some switch a root bridge, like I don't want to leave it on automatically, I just want to make one root bridge, my own root bridge, my selected root bridge, then what I can do, I can change this bridge priority. I can change this bridge priority value, default value, and I can reduce this value. So when I reduce this value, so my switch will definitely become the root bridge. And when it is not responding within 20 seconds, then it will consider as a dead, failed. Now second thing is non-root bridge. Now non-root bridge, that means all the other bridges which is not root bridge. So all the other switches in network except the root bridge are the non-root bridges, and non-root bridges receives the update from root bridges and updates its STP database. So all the database updating job will done by the root bridge, and non-root bridge always get the update from the root bridge. Now the next thing is what? The port cost. Now port cost is what? It is the assign each port a cost. STP assign each port a cost called the port cost. Port cost is used to choose best path when multiple links are available between two switches. Now cost of port is determined by the bandwidth of connected media link, and switch always use the lower port cost to forward the frame. Now after doing the election, next what they do, all the switches will decide that how to reach the root bridge first. That means when the root bridge is decided, so then they will decide that how to reach the root bridge and which is the path we have to reach the root bridge very quickly. So if we have redundant link, then you have multiple paths. Now if you are not having a redundant link, then you will have only one path to reach the root bridge, and there is no loop there. But if we have multiple paths and we have multiple redundant link, so we have multiple links to reach the root bridge. Now in this case, what they do, they will select the best path. Now best path based on this port cost, and it is predefined value and it is defined by the switch. Now it is defined by the bandwidth. So if your link is 10 Mbps, so the port cost is 100. Now we have two cost. Two cost was first, this one is the old cost. Now this one is not used by the switches. Now the switch is using this new cost value. What is wrong in this old cost? As you can see here, after 1 GB there is a problem. Now if 10 Mbps speed we have, so you have 100, cost is 100 for both old and new, it's okay. Now if you are having 100 Mbps speed, that means it is faster than the 10 Mbps, so it must have less cost than the 10 Mbps. So in old values you have 10. When you have 1 Gbps, so it is faster than 100 Mbps, so it must be having a less cost than the 100 Mbps link. So in old values we have 1, but when you have 10 Gbps, again it is faster than 1 Gbps, but then the old cost we don't have the less value than 1, we have the same 1 value. Now here is the problem for the old cost, that it shows it uses for 1 GB or 10 GB, it uses only cost 1. It considers both the links are same, but they are not same, and that is why we have now new cost values. New cost values goes by 10 Mbps 100 and 100 Mbps 19, 1 Gbps 4 and 10 Gbps 2. Now still we are remaining one number 1. If we have if we have more faster link than this 10 Gbps, then it could have a cost of 1. So we have one option remaining. So after doing the election, after selecting the root bridge, next what STP do, all the other bridges will consider them as a non-root bridge, and all the non-root bridges will do what? They will try to connect the root bridge, and they will try to connect the root bridge by going to the shortest path, which gives the less and lower cost, and by that they select the port path cost. Now it can have a multiple link, so they will decide the path cost first based on this port cost. So path cost is an accumulated value of the port cost from root bridge to other switches in a network, and it is always calculated from the root bridge, and default path cost at root bridge is 0. So BPDUs, the default path cost for the root bridge is 0. So 0 root bridge has all the cost of that 0. Now BPDUs contains path cost information, and when root bridge advertises the BPDU out from its interfaces, it sets the path cost to 0, and when connected switches receive the BPDUs, it increments path cost by adding the port cost value of its incoming port. For example, if the switch receives these BPDUs on gigabit interface, then path cost value would be 0, and 0 value it is received from the root bridge, plus it will add 4 and port cost value, and see the above table you can see here, and equal to 4. So now this switch will set path cost value for in BPDU frame and forward it, and assume that next switch is connected with this switch and receive updated BPDU on fast Ethernet port. So the path cost for the new switch would be 23, and path cost value received in BPDU plus port cost. So BPDU plus port cost is equal to the path cost. For example, after selecting the root bridge, for example, this is the root bridge now. This is our root bridge, switch 1. Now switch 1 when sends the BPDUs, then it will add the port cost in that BPDUs for the other non-bridges. Now these are non-bridge switches. Now what they do, they will try to find a shortest path to reach the root bridge. Remember, there is a redundant link here, so they have two paths. Switch 3 can go from here, and also it can go from here. Now it has to choose, switch 3 has to choose the shortest path. So how it will consider the shortest path? It will see the BPDUs coming from the root bridge. So root bridge will send the BPDU on both the links of its own, like all the links which is connected to this root bridge, and it sets the bridge port cost as a path cost as a 0 here in both the links. Now this will go here and reach to switch 2, and here this link, suppose we consider this link is what, 1 Gbps, suppose we consider is 100 Mbps, let's consider 100 Mbps, that means fast Ethernet. This one is 100 Mbps, and this one is also 100 Mbps, and this one is also 100 Mbps. Now when it reaches to switch 2, then switch 2 will say, okay, 0 is coming, and my link is 100 Mbps, that means the value is what? The value is for 100 Mbps we have 10, as the table says it is 10. So it will add number, cost value for the link is 10. So the path cost is what? 10 for switch 2 to reach the root bridge. Now it will send the BPDU to this link, and it will add this path cost here, and it will send it to this side and it will reach to this switch 3. Now switch 3 will do what? It will check what is the path cost, 10, plus what is the port cost. So the port cost, because it is 100 Mbps, so again it is what? 10. So what it will do? It will combine it and it will become 20 for it. And then from this side again the root bridge is sending it, so it is coming on this side and reaching to this switch also. Now this switch will say okay, the port cost, the path cost sent by the root bridge is what? 0, and plus what is the port cost I have? So I have 100, that means I will go with the 10. And what will be the cost for my this path is 10. So if switch 3 goes with this path, then it will cost 10, and if it goes by this path, then it will cost 20. So the less cost is this 10. So switch will see what? This is my shortest path, and it will use this path for reaching the root bridge. Now this is what the old value I am using. The new value for 100 is what? 19. So the new value is 19. So it becomes what? 19 here, and because the new value is 19, so this value is 19 plus 19, it will become 38. But again, this one is the long path and this one is the shortest path. So 19 is less than 38. So what switch will select this path? Switch will select this path for going for the root bridge. Now what about the other path? Now because the other path is the redundant link. Now how the switch 3 knows that this is my redundant link? Now because the same root bridge BPDU, the BPDU is coming from the root bridge and it is coming from this side also, and it is also coming from this side. So it is coming from this port also and it is coming from this port also. Now among these two ports it has decided that this will be my root port, so it will remain active. But the port which is the longest path it has, and it is still reaching the root bridge, so what it will do, it will consider this other link as a redundant link, and then what it will do, it will block that redundant link. So after deciding the root port, that means root port, so how it decides the root port? By getting the best path for reaching the root. So root port is a port that is directly connected with the root bridge or has the shortest path to the root bridge. Now shortest path is a path that has lowest path cost, and we have seen how it calculates the path cost. So remember that switch can go through many other switches to get the root. So it is not always the shortest path, but it is the fastest path that will be used, and that will become what? The root port. The port which is having a shortest and fastest path to reach the root bridge. Then the other ports, they will become what? Designated port. Now designated port means designated port is the port that is selected as having the lowest port cost. It is having the lowest port cost, and designated port would be marked as the forwarding port. So the port which is having the lowest port cost will become what? The designated port, and it will remain active. Now non-designated port, it will remain in forwarding port. Now non-designated port is the port that is selected as having the higher port cost than the designated port, and non-designated port would be marked as blocking port. So the port which is having the less cost, then less cost which is to reach the road bridge, so it will consider as a designated port, it will consider as a road port. And the other port which is not having a fastest path or less cost value, it will consider as a non-designated port, and it will go for the blocking state. It will go for the blocking port. Forwarding port means the port is used to forward the frames. Maybe the port is connected to the normal machines, not connected to other switches. So these ports will consider as a forwarding ports. Blocking ports, the port remains disabled to remove the loops. So if it sees the non-designated port, they will remain in the blocking state. They will consider as a blocking port. So how the spanning tree works? So first, what all switches generate and process the data messages called BPDU, and this basic idea behind the exchange BPDU is for switches to identify the redundant paths, and by using the spanning tree algorithm to ensure that there is no loop path in the network. Now the STP algorithm is responsible for identifying the active redundant link in the network and blocking one of these links, thus preventing possible network loop. So the operation of STP is as follows. The first, it will do what? STP enabled switches exchange BPDU message between them to agree upon the root bridge. The process is called root bridge election. So first they do what? They select the root bridge. Then once the root bridge is elected, every switches has to determine which of its port will communicate with the root bridge, and therefore root port election take place on every network switch, and root port will be selected based on the port and path cost. Now finally, designated port election takes place in order to have only one active path towards every network segment. So the designated port will be the forwarding port, and the election for the designated port will take place to choose the path, and non-designated ports will be blocked. Selecting the root bridge, as I said, it is based on the bridge priority, which is 32768, the fixed value, including with the VLAN ID, but it will still remain the same on all the switches. So if you are having multiple switches connected together, they exchange their BPDUs, and with their BPDUs they exchange their router switch ID, and their switch ID, maybe their switch ID with having the priority is this, so they will have a same priority. Now if the bridge priority is same, then the next thing it will check is MAC address. So basically for the root bridge they decide based on the bridge priority plus the MAC address. Now we should not say it is like plus, it is like either. If first it checks the bridge priority, then it checks the MAC address. So if the bridge priority is less than other switches, then it will become the root bridge, and if the bridge priority is same on all the switches, then it will go for MAC address and it will check the MAC address, and if the MAC addresses are is less than the other switches, then it will become what? Root bridge. Now based on MAC address, if you select the root bridge, if it is automatic and we don't do anything, this process is automatic, so we don't select root bridge, it is selected automatically. Now because the bridge priority number is same on all switches, so always the selection of the root bridge will be decided by the MAC address. Now this thing can make some time a problem. If suppose we are having a 10 switches in our network, and 10 switches, all Cisco switches are there, but we have one switch is very old, which is not having a more speed, like for example it is having a 10 Mbps speed, and all the other switches are new and they are having 1 Gbps links. Now because they are all connected, they will have the same bridge priority, that is 32768, but that old switch, it has the less MAC address, because it is old, it was created first, and this switches, the new switches created after that. So these new switches will have a higher MAC address than that old switch. So maybe sometime it happens that they select that old switch as a root bridge, and they all the other switches try to exchange communicate with that old root bridge. Now because these switches are having 100 Gbps speed, that 1 Gbps speed link, and this old switch has only 10 Mbps link, so that root bridge is not able to handle the network, handle the traffic, and our network gets slow. Now in this situation we can manipulate this election by changing the by changing the bridge priority value. We can change the bridge priority value from default to configure to multiple of this 4096. That means it is actually configured by multiple of 4096. That means 4096, then multiply this, so it will become what? It is like multiplying this 4096 to 8112. Then next you multiply again with 4096, then again multiply by 4096. So it goes on like this. You cannot just assign any value here for the bridge priority. You cannot assign any value like 100, 200 like this. You can only assign the value by multiples of 4096. But if you give less value than this 32768, then the root bridge will, the switch will become the root bridge, and we can manipulate the election. So we can make a higher end switch which can handle the all traffics, and we want that switch to be a root bridge. Then we can manipulate the election by changing the bridge priority and making that switch as a root bridge. Then determine the least cost path to the root bridge, and it is computed by the cost. So the computed spanning tree has the proprietary that message from any connected device to the root bridge traverse a least cost path, and that is a path from the device to the root, and that has a minimum cost among all paths from the device to root. The cost of traversing a path is the sum of the cost of the segment on the path. An administrator can configure the cost of traversing a particular network segment. Now the property that message always traverse least cost path to the root is guaranteed by the following two rules. These are the two rules that least cost path from each bridge. So after the root bridge has been chosen, each switch determines the cost of each possible path from itself to the root, and from these it picks one with the smallest cost. The port connecting to the path becomes the root port. It is called RP of the bridge, and least cost path from each network segment. Now if we have multiple different segments of the switches, then the switch on the network segment collectively determine which switch has the least cost path from the network segment to the root. The port connecting this bridge to the network segment is then the designated port DP for that segment. Now we have segment, we know how we can have a segment in a switch when we create a VLANs. So this is how STP works. So first when we connect them together, then what they do, they first select the root bridge. Root bridge will be decided by the bridge priority and MAC address. So if the bridge priority is less, then it will be decided by the MAC address. It will be decided by the MAC address. If the bridge ID, the bridge priority is less than the other switch, then it will directly become the root bridge. But if it is same on all switches, then it will be decided by the MAC address. So after it, which MAC address is less than the other, so that will become the root bridge. And after selecting the root bridge, then what they will do, they will try to find the shortest path for the switch to reach the root bridge. This is how they are connected, and now what? Based on the MAC address, they will decide the root bridge. So if this is the root bridge and this is decided as a root bridge, then what the all other switches, non-root bridges, will try to find the best path for reaching the root bridge. So in this case, in this design, you see, if these all links are what 100 Mbps, then the cost for all the links will be 19. Now for switch 3, if it goes from this side, it will cost 19. If it goes from this side, it will cost 19. And if it goes from this side, then 19 plus 19, 38. So which one is the less one? So this one is the less one. So this one becomes what? The root port for this switch 3. And for switch 2, again, if it goes from this side, it will cost 19. If it goes from this side, it will cost 38. So the 19 will be the short one. So this port for the switch 2 will become the root port. Now these other switches, other port is what? Designated port. For switch 2, this port is designated port. Why? Because this is having the less port cost, path cost than the one which is having the root. So this one becomes the root port, and the less one, the second one will become what? As a designated port. Then for this switch 3 also, this port becomes the root port, and the next port, which is also reaching the root bridge and having the more cost, it will become the designated port. Now we have two designated ports connected together. This switch 3 and switch 2 is having two links. One link is a root bridge, one link becomes a root bridge, other one is the designated one. And for switch 3 also, one link is a root bridge and other one is the designated one. Now they have to decide that they have to block one port. Now they have to decide that they have to block one port. That means root port they will not decide, they will not block. So they will block the other port, which is the designated port. So this port can become the looping port and it can create loop. Now in this topology, what happened here? Switch 2 says I am having a designated port of this. This port is my designated port. And switch 3 said this port is my designated port. But we have to block one of this port to disable the looping. So switch 2 says you will block the port, and switch 3 will say you will block the port. Why I will block? Because they will have a direct port connected. Now they have to decide that who is going to block the port. It will not block in both sides. It will having they will block only on one side, either on switch 3 side or either on switch 2 sides. So they will say who will block. Now here they will decide based on MAC address. They will decide based on MAC address. So whoever switch has less MAC address, this will keep the MAC address, keep the port running, and the MAC address and the switch which is having the more MAC address, it will have to block the port. Now in this case, switch 2 has a MAC address of BBBB and switch 3 has a MAC address of CCCC. Now which one is less? So we know B means what? 11 and C means 12. So B is less than C. So actually switch 2 wins, and switch 2 can keep this port running, this designated port running, and switch 3 has to block his port. So on the switch 3, this port will be on blocking state. It is still a designated port, but it will remain blocking state until we lose this root port. If we lose this root port, then what this switch 2 says, I lost the root connection from this root port because my root port is disconnected. So it will send the BPDU to this side on root this switch 3. It is in a blocking state, but still it will accept the BPDU. It will not forward the traffic, it will not forward the data, but it will listen to the BPDU. So switch 2 will send the BPDU saying that I lost the connection to root, and I want to enable this link. So this switch 3 will do what? It will enable this port, and then switch 2 can reach the root bridge from this side. And by doing this, they are avoiding the loop when they are blocking the port, and when this port is disconnected, then they can enable this port to connect the network. This is how simply they work. Now the next thing is the STP switch port states. Now when we connect any port to the switch, remember STP is running. So whether you are connecting normal machine or you are connecting another switch, all the port of the switches must have to go through all these different states of STP. That is why when you connect the switch any machine, it will not directly activate it. It will not enable directly. It will wait for some time, and because of that, different states of the STP. So this port on switch running STP go through 5 different states. During STP convergence, switches will move their root and designated port through the various states. First is what the blocking. These states are like blocking, listening, learning and forwarding, whereas any other port will remain in the blocked state. So first, blocking state. Now blocking state means what? The switch ports will go into the blocking state at the time of election process, when a switch receives a BPDU on the port that indicates a better path to the root switch. And if a port is not a root port or a designated port, a port in the blocking state does not participate in frame forwarding, and also discard frames received from the attached network segment during blocking state. The port is only listening to any processing BPDUs on its interface, and after 20 seconds the switch port changed from the blocking state to listening state. So whenever we connect any machine to the switch or any port, it will remain in blocking state for 20 seconds. And in this 20 seconds, what it do? It will not forward any data. It will only forward BPDUs and accept BPDUs only. It will not forward also, it will only accept the BPDUs, so that it can understand about the topology. That means when we connect these switches together, so for first 20 seconds all these ports will remain in blocking state. They will not do anything. If suppose we are having this machine connected here, and if this machine try to send any data, so it will not send any data, it will not accept and it will not forward any data to that 20 seconds. For that 20 seconds it will not send any data, it will not accept any data. Only BPDUs are accepted, so that it can learn about the election, it can learn about the root port and designated port. After that, port will go to listening state. Now listening state, after blocking state, a root port or designated port will move to a listening state, and all other ports will remain in the blocked state. All other port which is not connected. Now during the listening state, the port discard frames receiving from the attached network. Now still it is not receiving any data from normal machines. It will still discard it, and it also discard frame switch from the other port of the forwarding. And at this state, the port receives BPDUs from the network segment and directs them to the switch system modules for processing, and this will remain for 15 seconds. And after that it will go for learning state. That means first 20 seconds it will remain blocking state, it will not do anything, not forward any data, it will only accept BPDUs. That means it will only accept the BPDUs packets and process the BPDU packets. Now after that it goes to the listening state. Now here still it will not accept any data from anywhere, it will only accept BPDUs and forward the BPDUs to other switches. Now in this state it will do receive and forward BPDUs. First blocking it will only receive BPDUs, then in this state it will forward the BPDUs also. Then after 15 seconds it goes to learning state, and a port change to learning state after listening state, and during the learning state the port is listening for and processing the BPDUs, and in this listening stage the port begins to process user frames and start start updating the MAC address table, but the user frames are not forwarded to the destination. After 15 seconds, the switch port moves from the learning state to the forwarding state. So for this 15 seconds, till now all the elections of the root bridge, non-root bridge and root port, designated port and blocking port has happened. Now it will start reading the MAC addresses, and then after doing this for 15 seconds, then it will go for forwarding state. Now in this port, in the forwarding state, forwards frames across the attached network segments, and in a forwarding state the port will process BPDUs, updates its MAC addresses tables with frames that it receives and forward user traffic through the port. And forwarding state is the normal state. Data and configuration messages are passed through the port when it is in forwarding state. So now it has already read the topology, read the root bridge, root path, designated port, and then which is the looping port, it has already blocked. Now what? It can forward the data. And this is the normal port state, and you will see the green light on in your link. Now the disable state. A port in the disable state does not participate in frame forwarding or the operation of STB, because a port is in the disable state is considered non-operational. Maybe administrator has disabled the port, so it cannot take a part on anything. Now these are the different states of the port, and because of this it will take time when you connect a new port into the switch, new device in a switch. It will take at least this time. How much time it is? It is 20 for blocking, then 15 for listening and 15 for learning. Total is what? 50 seconds. And that is why we have the STP convergence. Convergence means how much time it will take to get the port up, and the total time is what? 50 seconds, because it goes through with these three states of the port. It goes to the blocking state, 20 seconds, then 15 seconds for listening and 15 seconds for learning, and it will take total of 50 seconds. But if a port does not have to go through the blocking state but start at the listening state, so convergence take only 30 seconds. So if suppose the port does not have to go to the blocking state, now why it does not have to blocking state? Because if suppose it is not a block, it is not disabled, it is not block of the redundant link. Like if it is not a redundant link and it is not block, it is a normal designated port, then it can take only 30 seconds to be up. For example, after doing all these things, it has blocked this port, and this is what? A blocking port. Now from this blocking port to be a forwarding port, it will take total 50 seconds. It will take total 50 seconds, because it has to wait for 20 seconds of the blocking port, blocking state, then it will have to go for listen, learning, and then it will go for forwarding. But if the port is already on designated port, it is already on designated state, and if it wants to go for the forwarding state, it is still not using a forwarding, it is not doing forwarding, because it is a redundant link. So it will do what? It will take only 30 seconds to do that. And this is called the convergence. Convergence means after disable or blocking state to going to forwarding state, how much time it will take? It is called convergence time. So this is what is spanning tree protocol, and this is how it works. It is basically for avoiding the loops.